Hi there, it's Anna Marika Gerritsen, but call me AMG, and welcome to episode 13 of the Endometriosis Nutritionist TV. And today I want to talk about a symptom that is very, very common, very uncomfortable, can really make you feel very hurt physically and emotionally, and that is bloating. The question is often, let me say it this way. When I started to research endometriosis and really come to get very clear about how nutrition can contribute to endometriosis, when I saw the list of symptoms, there are so many symptoms that, to me, if you look at can't even say the word today. When you look at endometriosis from a hormonal reproductive system point of view, don't make sense. Because why would you have digestive issues if it is a disease from the reproductive system and caused by hormones? So if that were the case, then bloating doesn't make sense. Bloating is a known symptom when you have irritable bowel syndrome or inflammatory bowel disease. You have leaky gut. If you have a gut microbiome out of balance. So basically, bloating is a common symptom. Food intolerances, when you have a gut issue. Now, gut and reproductive system sort of sit near each other, but they are not connected technically. So looking at bloating as part of endometriosis, to me, says a lot more about your digestive system than it says about your reproductive system. And when we accept that there's probably a digestive system issue as part of endometriosis, then the bloating makes sense, but it also gives you ways that you can fix it or improve it. And one of the common ways that women with endometriosis end up with bloating is because they react to foods, certain foods in particular. I'm thinking gluten, I'm thinking dairy, but there are many food intolerances that could cause your bloating. And plus your microbiome is not ideal. So that's where nutrition can make such an important impact, play such an important role in starting to feel better. One of my clients went on the endometriosis diet, and so we removed a lot of foods, including gluten. She already didn't have a lot of dairy, but we got that out completely. There were other foods that we removed, but removing the gluten for her, after a day and a half, she was no longer bloated, and she was in her early 30s, and she had been bloated for as long as she could remember. So she could not even remember. So for her, she was bloated and very bloated, in that scale. So, but she never ever got to a point where she wasn't bloated. And so when she went off gluten after a day and a half, she sent me an email and said, "I am not bloated." And she said, I didn't even know what that was like. So, and so many of my clients who have bloating as one of their key 3 symptoms that they want to reduce see that improvement when they take gluten out and take other foods out that we know are either food intolerances potentially, or irritate an already inflamed and irritated gut, or any of the reasons that we know that bloating is caused by food. So when you look at why am I bloated, and why sometimes you are worse bloated than others, it's because your gut is not functioning optimally. And when that's the case, so for me, bloating is a symptom. And when I think about what might be causing the bloating, I also realize that there's other things that are not working properly if in your gut. And as a result, you might have, for example, leaky gut, in which case you don't absorb enough nutrients. You may have various food intolerances, which cause other things as well, like headaches and migraines and skin conditions potentially, and there's all these other symptoms that might be related. So the bloating is, for me, a very important signal that there's something wrong in the gut, plus that there will be an immune response somehow, which creates inflammation, which creates chronic inflammation, and then your endometriosis can grow and develop and progress, and you get worse over time. So if you are bloated as part of your endometriosis symptoms, or you've put it as part of your endometriosis symptoms, it is important to look at it from a gut perspective, and that's great because we can fix your diet. If it's your gut, that's all about diet. So we just have to work out what we should not eat anymore and what we should eat more of to start to fix up your gut. But then the bloating goes. And I've seen it with so many clients that are going on first an anti-inflammatory diet, and then we do some other things. The bloating goes. And so I do some other digestive issues like diarrhea and constipation and those wonderful things. So this is why you have bloating. And unless you remove the culprits or the foods that we know cause bloating, and we know that certain foods when you have endometriosis are definitely a problem, you will have the bloating. And sometimes I see women talk about, I know what my trigger foods are, what causes flare-ups, and I'll talk more about that in another episode. But really what flare-ups are, when there is a food trigger and it causes a flare-up, really what that's saying is you already have chronic inflammation. So you're already constantly not well, and sometimes there is something that just pushes your body to breaking point, and that can be a particular food, but just by removing that food doesn't necessarily, if you work out, for example, that chocolate is your trigger food, just removing chocolate does not heal the underlying inflammation. So it's more complicated than that. Anyway, I got a little bit sidetracked. I was talking about bloating, wasn't I? So remember, if you are bloated, that is your digestive system and it needs fixing. And until you eat in a way that calms down your digestive system and then heals it, your bloating will not go away. But let me tell you, I used to get bloated, not because of endometriosis, but just because before I got into healthy eating, I ate a shocking diet. I know what bloating is like. I know what constipation is like. I know what diarrhea is like. And I used to have them all the time. And now, and not having that is just bliss. I can absolutely vouch for that. It's worth whatever foods you have to take out of your diet and whatever foods you have to add into it to start to feel better. Anyway, that's about bloating, one of the most common symptoms in endometriosis. Very uncomfortable, and remember, it is about your digestive system that needs to be fixing, not your reproductive system if you want to get rid of bloating. That's it for today, and I'll see you next week. Have a great one. Bye for now.